Good morning, all my fellow hard-working, hard-headed, hard-saving Americans. Now, I would have liked to have labeled this rant Bungling Biden's Business Battle Plan, or lack thereof, but it's kinda long, and it sounds just a little bit pretentious when the first two words, Bungling Biden, well, that pretty much sums up everything he's done since he's assumed the position, doesn't it? Now, let's take a look at this from one of the DNC's propaganda outlets, the AP. Look at the headline. Biden cites economic gains, but voters see much more to do. What economic gains, Uncle Joe? I've been feeling the economic pain in my wallet ever since you've assumed the position, Uncle Joe. Let's take a quick look at the opening of the story, though. 7 months before he faces a critical test from voters in the midterm elections, where I hope he's punished roundly and the Republicans take control of both houses, Uncle Joe is turning his focus, finally, to kitchen table issues, mainly the economy. That is what a kitchen table issue is, as he struggles to get credit for a recovering economy. Is that what he's calling this? A recovering economy? We'll get into much more about that shortly. Since Uncle Joe took office last year, job growth has been vigorous and steady. Really? He's missed the target of job growth just about every single month. As he told the country Friday after the March jobs report showed the addition of 431,000 jobs and the employment rate falling to a low 3.6%. But those same remarks were also tempered by his recognition that food and gas prices are too high and inflation is at its worst level in a generation. Actually, a generation is usually considered about 20 to 25 years, and this is the worst inflation in 40 years. So that's 2 generations, Joe. Let's get on, though, to this job report. For that, we'll go to a new site. Here it is, unemploymentdata.com. March 22 unemployment not as low as expected. Whoa, let's take a look at this. Although MSNBC is touting it as a win, they admit that experts predicted 490,000 new jobs, but according to the BLS, we only got 431. Yeah, nice win there, Uncle Joe. So they could just as easily have spun this as a negative report. Instead, MSNBC and the rest of the propaganda outlets for the DNC gushes about the new jobs. Let's go down to that second paragraph. As we've consistently pointed out, we are still below peak pre-COVID unemployment levels. Although MSNBC says, so far in 2022, the economy has created 1.69 million jobs. We're still below December 2021 levels. I guess it depends on how you look at it. Unlike what you'd expect from a pandemic, since COVID started, the U.S. population is up by 3.8 million. So we need more jobs just to be equal. In other words, population inflation does to jobs what money inflator does to the cost of living. Indeed, in fact, what the story doesn't say is that we still have less jobs today than when Trump left office. So, gee, Uncle Joe, good news right there for you. Now, let's take a look at the rest of the economy. For this, we'll go to yet another legacy news outlet. Fox News. Drilling down. Energy groups target Biden over dismissal of U.S. oil production. Yes, Uncle Joe. Because Uncle Joe is not allowing new oil drilling permits, oil production is going down. In fact, it's not just oil production. Remember how he killed the pipeline that would have brought 10,000 more jobs into the U.S.? 10,000 jobs. Uncle Joe just said, who needs those good-paying jobs? We can have people working at Starbucks for minimum wage. Who needs oil drilling jobs? Who needs those good-paying jobs? I need somebody to fill my order at McDonald's. The truth of the matter is, oil jobs are good-paying jobs. They're good for the U.S. economy. The U.S. needs oil. I don't care if you're a greenie or not. The U.S. needs those oil jobs. Even if you want to go 100% electric, unless you want to ruin the U.S. economy, it's not going to happen anytime soon. Let's go on with a few more stories from Fox Business. Look at this. Screeching halt. Mexico tries to deter Americans from heading south of border for deals. Yes, Mexico is saying, no mas, no mas. Don't come over here for that cheap gas. We don't want you. Prices are headed higher. Experts warn tapping into oil reserves won't help Americans at the pump. Tapping into the strategic oil reserve, which, by the way, during Trump's administration, he just refilled, and this will be the second time Uncle Joe taps into it. It'll probably be pretty much empty after this. And remember that name, Strategic Oil Reserve. That was supposed to be for a true emergency, not just because we feel a little pain at the pump. What happens if the oil-producing companies decided to really put the screws on and stop producing as much oil? It's for an emergency like that, not just because prices are a little bit higher. It's not that we can't get the oil, it's just that we're paying more for it. The Strategic Oil Reserve was there for an emergency when we needed the oil, not just because we were paying more for it. Good job, Uncle Joe. And take a look at this one, which pretty much talks about, again, maybe just going over to Mexico or into Republican states where gas is cheaper because they're not taxing you as much, maybe. I'm not going to read the story. I'm just going to make a little supposition, and let's go by the headline. Dem state residents are crossing the border to escape high gas taxes. And one last one, this middle one right here. Housing prices hit record high, giving buyers hard punch in the pocket. Everything we want to buy has gone up. Gas has gone up. Food has gone up. Electricity has gone up. Housing has gone up. Clothes has gone up. Tires has gone up. The economy is a total mess under Bungling Biden. Maybe if you're in the upper 1 or even the upper 5%, you don't feel the pain. But I've sure felt the pain every time I've gone food shopping. I felt the pain every time I filled up with gas. And I've had a couple of high-ticket items in my house break, and I've had to replace them. And they're much, much higher than I expected them to be. Everything is going up. My pocketbook is hurting. I don't have as much free money as I used to even a year ago. The jobs report is a joke. It doesn't tell you the true story of the unemployed in the United States. I'm thinking that the inflation number is a joke. Even though it's at an admitted 40-year high, inflation isn't counted like it used to be. If you counted inflation numbers the way they used to count it, I'm thinking inflation would come in double-digit numbers. And if that isn't bad enough, to further batter our economy, Uncle Joe wants to open up the border in May. You know, I don't think I've ever voted a straight ticket in my life. But thanks to Uncle Joe, I think I will this November.